Start with Senator Kaine.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and Ms. Bennett, good to see you again. I was pleased to see that one of the panelists on the second panel, and I'm going to duck out for a minute, but then come back for the second panel, Jessica Brandt, in her written testimony urged greater resourcing for USAGM and VIO in Latin America, given the presence of over 40 million native Spanish speakers here and the inherent linkages we have with the region. Given the increasing footprint of both Russia and Chinese efforts in the region, do we have sufficient resources dedicated to our needs in Latin America?
We do not. We do not. We've been severely under-resourced in both of those areas in particular. And as we're talking about, this is now a global problem. This is not a problem with the mis and disinformation being just inside the countries. It's coming everywhere. So we actually need a lot more resources in order to reach these people. And there are many, many ways in which we could be better resourced, including technologically, personnel, and also in terms of journalist safety as well, because we're increasingly putting journalists into harm's way.
I wanted to ask about journalist safety on World Press Freedom Day. How have we responded to repressive environments? And in particular, I'm going to stick with the Americas. Independent media in Nicaragua have been severely abused and their resources cut. But there's also an increasingly dangerous environment for journalists in neighboring countries. El Salvador, Guatemala, Mexico has had a horrible set of challenges for journalists. What are we doing and what more can we do to try to provide safety for independent journalists in Latin America?
That is one thing we are really working extremely hard to make sure that we have basically whatever the state-of-the-art protection is for journalists, and that includes equipment, it includes protection, physical protection, it includes protection in the buildings that they occupy, it includes training about how to handle themselves in very difficult situations, and it also includes making sure that we have the resources to remove journalists from dangerous areas and to find other places to take them when they find themselves in danger. It's something, as you've seen, we faced around the world, particularly in Russia. I just returned from a trip to see Radio Free Europe and Radio Liberty, where we met with the Russian journalists who've had to move 4 to 6 times now because they had to flee from inside Russia, some of them with only a bag in their hand. And one of them very plaintively said, I hope my neighbor's taking care of my dog. And they've been gone for a year. And they hope they'll be back in a couple of months. And I leave it to you to decide whether that's the case. But being able to support those people and find them other places to go, other places to live, help them deal with the trauma they've endured. All of those things are critical. Because of what we ask them to do, we're asking them to put themselves in harm's way, and we owe them at least the best protection we can give them.
Last question I want to ask is just an oversight question on internal management. Your agency is one that in employee surveys recently, but it has not just been recently, has been ranked pretty lowly in terms of the morale of employees. You're new to the position. You have a lot of experience in working at some very, very high-watt news organizations. What are you doing as the CEO to try to bring up morale at USAGM?
And Senator, I appreciate your discretion in talking about the lowness. We were actually dead last for a long time, yeah. And we probably deserved it. Last year, however, we got an award from the Partnership for Public Service for being the most improved agency, I believe, in the entire government, under the leadership of the acting CEO and the acting director of Voice of America and the returned heads of all the other agencies. So that shows that it can change, and literally giving people good equipment, giving people the proper leadership, giving people direction, making sure that we do the job of clearing away the red tape that often entangles them and makes it difficult for them even to get plane tickets to get to the places they're trying to work. All those things are important, and we are really committed to basically increasing the communication and the engagement with our employees. Again, because whether or not they're in harm's way, we deserve to give them the best that they can possibly have, and I think that's part of my responsibility.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
As you were